The Ghost of Sparta, the fallen god, Farbauti, or the one who yells "boy" every 2 minutes. You know him by many names, but do you know the full story of Kratos? I'm Keegan, and in this video we're gonna go over the story of all of the God of War games, from Kratos' early days in Sparta to his adventures in Midgard. This timeline will go over the main events of Kratos' story in the order that they happened for the Ghost of Sparta, which isn't always the chronological order of the game's release dates. The story of Kratos begins before the events of the first God of War game. Kratos is a captain of the Spartan army, leading his men through numerous battles and always emerging victorious, but nothing lasts forever. Kratos and his army eventually encounter a savage barbarian horde that slaughters them. As he's about to die, Kratos strikes a deal with Ares, the god of war from Greek mythology. Kratos pledges his allegiance to Ares under the condition that the god would spare him and his men and help him obtain victory. Ares accepts this offer and grants Kratos the Blades of Chaos, powerful weapons forged in the realm of the dead, symbolizing Kratos' servitude to the god with chains bound to the Spartan's flesh. Kratos becomes Ares' servant, defeating his enemies and conquering various parts of Greece. These newfound powers turn Kratos into a bloodthirsty conqueror, killing everyone on his way. His army eventually comes across a village that worships Athena, the goddess of wisdom and military victory. Blinded by his bloodlust, Kratos kills every villager and sets their houses on fire. Once his rage dissipates, Kratos realizes that his own wife and daughter are among the casualties. The village oracle curses Kratos for this massacre and binds the ashes of his dead family to his skin. This new pale skin tone grants Kratos his most popular nickname, the Ghost of Sparta. It turns out Kratos' wife and daughter weren't here by accident. It was a plot from Ares, who wanted to free Kratos from his mortal bounds to turn him into the perfect warrior with no feelings. This plan didn't work out for Ares, as Kratos swears to get his vengeance against the God of War and renounces his pledge of servitude. God of War Ascension, a hack and slash released in 2013 for the PlayStation 3, takes place 6 months after Kratos accidentally killed his family, and before the events of the very first God of War game. After Kratos broke his oath of allegiance to Ares, the God of War sends the Furies to punish him for his betrayal. These 3 sisters are tasked with imprisoning whoever breaks their blood oath, torturing them to insanity as death would be too kind for traitors. That's exactly what they do to Kratos, causing haunting illusions to weaken the Spartan's mind. Orcos, the son of Ares and the Queen of Furies, realizes that his father wasn't fair to the Spartan when he manipulated him to slay his own family. He betrays the Furies and takes Kratos' side, telling the Ghosts of Sparta that Ares chose him to be his servant in a plot to overtake Mount Olympus. He also tells Kratos that the Oracle Aletheia could know how to free him from his bond to Ares. Kratos finds the Oracle, who tells him that the only way to be free from his blood oath is to slay the Furies. The Furies catch up with Kratos and Orcos and imprison the Ghost of Sparta within Aegean, a giant living prison called the Prison of the Damned. They torture Kratos by casting various illusions and even try to seduce him into getting back to Ares' service by showing him getting home to his wife and daughter. But the Ghost of Sparta doesn't forget reality and refuses to pledge his allegiance to the God of War. Kratos eventually manages to get free from the Furies' prison and kills the 3 sisters. He reunites with Orcos, who tells him that the only way for both of them to get rid of their respective bonds to Ares is for Kratos to kill Orcos, as the Furies made him his Oathkeeper. The Spartan reluctantly obliges, finally breaking his bond with the God of War. However, doing so has an unexpected consequence, as Kratos begins to have terrible nightmares about the death of his wife and daughter. These visions were previously held back by his bond to Ares and are now free to roam his mind, torturing him with sorrow. The only way for Kratos to get rid of these nightmares is to serve the gods of Olympus and get redemption for his sins. The Ghost of Sparta begins to accomplish various missions for the Olympian gods, protecting Greece from foreign enemies and defeating powerful mythological creatures. Some of his adventures are described in God of War Chains of Olympus, a game released in 2008 for the PSP. In God of War Chains of Olympus, Kratos battles against the Persian army in the city of Attica. In classic Kratos fashion, he slays the army, defeats the Persian king, and even kills the large basilisk fighting for them. After slaying the beast, the sun suddenly plummets through the sky, falling down like a meteorite and plunging the world into darkness. The Ghost of Sparta heads to where the sun seemingly fell down, running after the remains of light on the horizon. He discovers that Morpheus, the god of dreams, covered the land in a black fog, so he can be the only ruler of this new world without Helios, the god of the sun. Kratos reaches the Temple of Helios, where the remaining light comes from, and encounters a statue of Athena, who tells him that Morpheus used his black fog to put all gods in a deep slumber. The goddess asks Kratos to retrieve Helios to bring the sun back and get rid of Morpheus so the gods could finally wake up and prevent him from ruling over the world. Since Kratos is now in the world of dreams, something comes to haunt him, a flute melody that the Ghost of Sparta recognizes as the one his daughter used to play. That sure doesn't help with the nightmares he has, but the Ghost of Sparta manages to keep his sanity, or at least what's left of it. Kratos finds Helios' sister, Eos, who tells him that the god of the sun has been abducted by the Titan Atlas. Kratos frees the fire steeds, the mythical horses that pull Helios' sun chariot across the sky every day. The horses take Kratos to their master in the underworld, where the Ghost of Sparta follows the light of Helios to the temple of Persephone, the queen of the underworld. He sees his daughter Calliope on the shorelines of the temple, but as he tries to follow her inside, he meets the queen of the underworld instead. She offers to reunite the Ghost of Sparta with his daughter, under the condition he renounces the weapons and powers granted to him by the gods of Olympus, even if the world will suffer from this choice. Kratos agrees and transfers his powers to the Forsaken Tree, becoming an ordinary man stripped of all godly powers, magic abilities, and powerful weapons. As Kratos can finally reunite with his daughter, Persephone taunts him and reveals her true plans. She was the one who freed Atlas and caused the kidnapping of Helios, as revenge against the gods of Olympus who abandoned her. While Kratos was getting rid of his powers and reuniting with his daughter, Atlas carried out Persephone's plan to destroy the pillar that holds the world, killing everyone and causing the end of the world. Kratos realizes that the only way to save his daughter is to stop Persephone's evil plans, even if that means he'll never see his child again. Kratos fights his way out to retrieve his weapons and powers, killing everyone standing in his way. This slaughter turns him into the Ghost of Sparta once more, to the despair of his daughter. Kratos catches up with Persephone and the two fight in an epic battle at the top of the Pillar of the World. The Ghost of Sparta binds the Titan Atlas to the pillar and defeats the Queen of the Underworld, who tells him that his suffering will never end as he will always be haunted by his past actions. The pillar breaks and Atlas is now forced to hold the weight of the world on his shoulders for eternity. The Titan tells Kratos that he will regret helping the gods and that they will meet again. The Ghost of Sparta doesn't really care about Atlas's opinion, and believes the gods will keep their promise of getting rid of his nightmares should he complete missions for them. Kratos rides Helios' sun chariot back to the mortal world, bringing the ordinary course of the sun back and forcing Morpheus to release his grip. The first God of War game, released in 2005 for the PlayStation 2, begins as Kratos accomplished 10 years of service for the gods of Olympus. Kratos is tired of this mercenary life and wants to stop serving the gods. Athena tells him that if he performs one final mission, the gods will forgive him for killing his family, and that final mission is one Kratos has been looking for: killing Ares. Kratos heads to Athens, where Ares is wreaking havoc. The Ghost of Sparta battles his way through the city and finds out the only way to kill Ares is with Pandora's Box, a mythical artifact that can give a mortal the power to kill a god. Since this artifact can give immense powers to whoever opens it, Pandora's Box isn't easily accessible. It's hidden within a temple filled with deadly traps and is located on the back of the Titan Kronos, who was cursed to forever wander the desert of lost souls by Zeus after the Great War that opposed the Titans and the Olympians. Determined to get his revenge on Ares and be forgiven for his past sins, Kratos makes his way to Pandora's temple. As Kratos recovers Pandora's Box, Ares throws a pillar from Athens to the temple and kills the Ghost of Sparta, while Harpies steal the box for Ares. Kratos is sent to the underworld, the realm of the dead. He battles his way out of there and escapes the underworld with the help of a mysterious gravedigger who calls him my child. The Ghost of Sparta comes back to Athens and retrieves Pandora's Box, unleashing its powers to finally face Ares. The god of war doesn't go down without a fight and forces Kratos to relive the death of his wife and daughter through a powerful illusion. Kratos manages to snap out of it, so Ares strips the blades of chaos from Kratos' arms, leaving the Ghost of Sparta to fight with his bare hands. Kratos finds the Blade of the Gods, a large metal sword formerly used as an ornamental bridge inside Athens, and uses it to finally defeat the god of war. Athens is safe and sound, and Kratos finally got his revenge. Athena tells him that as promised, the gods forgive his sins. However, they can't make the nightmares go away, as that wasn't part of the deal and Kratos will have to deal with it. With no more reason to live, Kratos tries to kill himself by drowning in the Aegean Sea. However, the gods have other plans for him and Athena pulls him out of the water. Since Ares was defeated, there's an empty seat on Mount Olympus, the throne of the god of war. And this is how Kratos, the bloodthirsty Spartan captain, becomes the new god of war, and where this popular franchise got its name. God of War, Ghost of Sparta dives deeper into the origin story of Kratos by focusing on some of his family members. Not his dead wife and daughter though, as we already know about them. Long before the events of the games, an oracle foretold that the end of Mount Olympus wouldn't come from the Titans, but the gods would fall to the hand of the marked warrior, a mortal. Zeus and Ares found a boy with strange birthmarks that could fit a marked warrior description. This boy was Kratos' younger brother, Deimos. Ares interrupted the brother's childhood training in Sparta and kidnapped Deimos to prevent him from harming Olympus. Kratos tried to intervene, but the god of war pushed him away and scarred his right eye. As Ares was about to kill Kratos, Athena stopped him, stating they only needed the marked warrior. They took Deimos to the domain of death, where the boy would be tortured by the god of death, Thanatos, for the years to come. In honor of his brother, Kratos got a red tattoo similar to Deimos' birthmark across his face and body. Years later, Kratos defeated Ares and became the new god of war. However, he remains haunted by visions of his mortal childhood, wondering what happened to the rest of his family. He decides to explore his past against the advice of Athena. He finds his mother, Callisto, in the city of Atlantis. She tells him that his brother is alive, but tormented in death's domain, and that to reach him, Kratos needs to head back to Ares' temple in Sparta. Callisto suddenly transforms into a beast, and Kratos has to kill his own mother. On the way out of Atlantis, Kratos frees the Titan Thera, which causes the eruption of the Methana volcano and a flood that destroys everything. As he escapes the sunken city, Kratos stumbles upon the enigmatic gravedigger he previously met in the first God of War game, who warns him not to anger the gods. Kratos reaches Sparta, where he's praised by the inhabitants. Some Spartans are even tearing down a statue of Ares to replace it with one of Kratos, the new god of war. He then fights against a young, ghost-like version of himself, who manages to throw a few good punches at the god of war before getting crushed against a wall. Kratos realizes he needs to get back to Atlantis to find Death's domain and rescue his brother. This trip to Sparta wasn't completely meaningless though, as a young Spartan commander gives Kratos his former weapons, the Arms of Sparta. Kratos goes back to Atlantis, but the minions of Poseidon sink his ship and kill his crew. The god of the sea is mad at Kratos for sinking his kingdom, but the Spartan doesn't really care. He finally enters Death's domain, locates his brother, and frees him. But this lovely brotherly reunion isn't as warm as it could have been, as Deimos is furious that Kratos didn't come to rescue him sooner. The two brothers fight until Thanatos, the god of death, intervenes. He takes Deimos away, Kratos saves his brother, and the two reconcile. Kratos gives Deimos the Arms of Sparta and they fight Thanatos together. Thanatos realizes the gods made a mistake. The marked warrior was not Deimos, but Kratos. The marks weren't Deimos' birthmark as they thought, but the ashes of Kratos' wife and daughter bound to the Ghost of Sparta's skin. Kidnapping Deimos had turned Kratos into a merciless warrior, and forcing him to kill his family fulfilled the prophecy of creating the marked warrior. During the fight against the two brothers, Thanatos kills Deimos. Furious, Kratos slays the god. He carries the dead body of his brother to the mysterious gravedigger he previously met, who for some reason already had a grave prepared. Kratos buries his brother using the Arms of Sparta as a grave marker. As the Ghost of Sparta wonders out loud what had become of him, the gravedigger answers that he became Death, the destroyer of worlds, before vanishing. Athena appears, stating that all the ties that linked Kratos to the mortal world were now severed. As she tries to turn him into a full-time god, the Spartan stops her. He heads back to Olympus, saying that the gods will pay for what they did. He sits on his throne as the god of war, wearing his Olympian armor with a thirst for revenge in his eyes. The adventures of Kratos continue with the release of God of War Betrayal, a 2D side-scroller for mobile. Following the events of the first game, Kratos is back to leading his Spartan army against various Greek warriors. Everything is going fine until Kratos' crew is attacked by a bunch of beasts led by Argos, a powerful giant and servant of Hera sent to stop Kratos from wreaking havoc in Greece. A mysterious assassin kills Argos and frames Kratos for this death in the hope that the gods would turn their back on the Ghost of Sparta. Kratos goes after this mysterious killer to find out who wants to frame him, slashing everyone standing in his way as per usual. Zeus eventually sends the son of Hermes, Syrinx, to deliver a message to Kratos asking him to stop destroying everything in his quest to find the assassin. Kratos refuses to stop, fights against the messenger, and ends up killing him. Whoops. Now the gods have a really good reason to be mad at the Ghost of Sparta. Enter God of War 2. Kratos is among the gods of Olympus, but his colleagues don't really like the way he slaughtered everyone in his previous adventures. Kratos doesn't like them either, as they're responsible for the death of everyone he cared about and didn't help him to get rid of the haunting visions of his family's death. The only hobby that Kratos has is leading his Spartan army into battle, conquering Greece and defeating anyone he can. Athena asks for him to stop as the gods are growing more and more angry at the new god of war and his thirst for blood. As usual, Kratos doesn't really care what anyone thinks and continues doing what he wants. He assists his Spartan army in the Battle of Rhodes, joining the fight as a god, way taller than any of the mere humans fighting this war. An eagle, who Kratos believes to be Athena, flies over the battlefield and strips him of his godly height, infusing it into the Colossus of Rhodes, bringing it to life to kill Kratos. The large statue joins the battle and wreaks havoc in the city in his fight against the Ghost of Sparta. Zeus gives Kratos the Blade of Olympus, a powerful sword once used to stop the great war between the gods and the Titans. The King of Olympus tells Kratos to infuse this blade with his godly powers in order to have the means to defeat the Colossus. The Ghost of Sparta transfers his powers into the sword, becoming mortal but powerful enough to destroy his opponent. Kratos defeats the statue but is mortally wounded after being crushed by the falling Colossus. The Ghost of Sparta tries to crawl to his sword to get his powers back, but the eagle appears once again. It turns out that it wasn't Athena who stripped him of his godly height, but Zeus himself. He betrayed Kratos as he is a threat to Olympus and already killed one of the gods, Ares. Zeus doesn't want to be Kratos' next victim, so he kills the Ghost of Sparta using the Blade of Olympus and wipes out the entire Spartan army. As Kratos is dragged to the underworld, he's saved by Gaia, the primordial goddess of the earth, mother of the Titans, and grandmother of the Olympian gods. Her voice might sound familiar to players, as she's also the narrator of the God of War series. Gaia tells Kratos that he should find the Sisters of Fate to change his past, regain his powers and status as the God of War, and then prevent Zeus's betrayal and slay the King of Olympus. Easy peasy, right? Gaia sends forth Pegasus, the mythical winged horse, to help Kratos on his quest. Kratos and Pegasus fly towards the island of creation but are attacked by ravens and griffins. The leader of the Griffin Riders, the Dark Rider, slams into Pegasus and sends the horse plummeting to its death. Kratos avenges the winged horse and defeats the Dark Rider before diving onto the island of creation below. On his way to finding the Sisters of Fate, Kratos asks Gaia why she decided to help him get his revenge on Zeus. She explains the story of Zeus, starting with how he was saved as a child from the madness of his father, Kronos, who ate all of his children to prevent a prophecy stating that one of the kids would rise up against him. Zeus's mother, Rhea, saved the child and sent him away to an island that happened to be Gaia herself. Gaia took care of Zeus until he grew up and was strong enough to enact his revenge against Kronos and all the Titans. In typical Kratos fashion, the Ghost of Sparta slays a few enemies standing in his way, including Theseus, the son of Poseidon, Perseus, son of Zeus, the barbarian king he defeated in the original God of War, the Gorgon queen Euryale, and Icarus, whom he steals wings from. Kratos then reaches the Titan Atlas, who is forced to hold the earth after his encounter with the Ghost of Sparta in God of War Chains of Olympus. Atlas is furious at Kratos for being responsible for his fate, but the Spartan explains his plans of reaching the Sisters of Fate to take his revenge on Zeus. Atlas tells Kratos that the Titans are also looking to take their revenge against the King of Olympus, who humiliated them during the Great War. After a few more battles, Kratos enters the Sisters of Fate's stronghold and explains his desire to change his fate. They deny his request to alter time, so Kratos reacts as he always does by fighting them. He defeats the three Sisters of Fate, granting himself control over his own destiny. Kratos gets his powers back and retrieves his status as the God of War before traveling back to his death at the hands of Zeus in Rhodes. Zeus didn't see this time travel twist coming, and Kratos manages to get the upper hand in their battle. After a lengthy fight, the Ghost of Sparta pins down Zeus's hands and uses the Blade of Olympus to stab Zeus exactly how he was originally stabbed when he had lost the fight. Before Kratos can kill Zeus, Athena intervenes to defend the King of Olympus. Kratos is angry at her for protecting the god and preventing him from getting his revenge. Zeus warns Kratos that he started a war he will not be able to win, as the Sisters of Fate already predicted his victory. Kratos turns back to the King of Olympus and tries to impale him, but Athena sacrifices herself and takes the hit instead of Zeus, who escapes. As Athena is dying, Kratos asks her why she sacrificed herself to protect Zeus. Athena reveals that Zeus's actions were only caused by fear, the same fear that led to his father Kronos killing all of his children, the fear that caused the Great War, and the fear that is now responsible for Zeus trying to kill his own son, Kratos. Yep, Kratos is the son of Zeus. And just like Zeus wanted to kill his father Kronos, Kratos was now trying to kill his dad. Athena warns Kratos that the gods will never stop protecting Zeus, and that Zeus is the only one who can make sure Olympus will prevail. As the goddess draws her last breath, Kratos declares that no one will stop him from getting his revenge on Zeus, even if he has to slay everyone on Mount Olympus. Kratos travels back in time once more, this time to the Great War that opposed the gods and Titans. Gaia announces that the Titans were expecting him, and the Ghost of Sparta explains how they can change their fate and win this war. However, they can't do this during the Great War. Kratos takes Gaia and the Titans to his current timeline so they can face off against the gods of Olympus. Meanwhile, a defeated Zeus comes back to Mount Olympus and warns his fellow gods that Kratos has gone rogue. As Zeus finishes a speech stating that Olympus will prevail, Kratos and the Titans appear and start climbing the mountain. Kratos tells Zeus that his son has returned to bring the destruction of Olympus. God of War 3 picks up the story as the Titans are making their way to Mount Olympus. The gods rush to battle, with Poseidon turning into a massive water being and summoning several water horses to fight his enemies. Kratos fights against the god of the sea, turning him back to his human form before gouging his eyes out and snapping his neck. The death of Poseidon causes a massive flood that destroys everyone but those standing atop Mount Olympus. Kratos and Gaia reach Zeus, who throws a blast of lightning at them. It knocks the two off the mountain, and while Gaia manages to climb back to Mount Olympus, Kratos struggles to hang on to the Titaness. Gaia tells Kratos that he was only a pawn to give Titans access to Mount Olympus, and that they no longer need him to get their revenge on the gods. She leaves the Ghost of Sparta to fall down to his death. Kratos falls into the river Styx, swearing once again that he will get his revenge and destroy all of Olympus. In the underworld, he meets the spirit of Athena, who claimed to have reached a higher level of existence after her sacrifice to protect Zeus. This new form allowed her to learn about all the truths she previously ignored, and the former goddess is now willing to help Kratos get his revenge against the King of Olympus. She states that as long as Zeus lives, humanity will remain hopeless. The only way to truly defeat Zeus is to extinguish the flame of Olympus. And to help the Ghost of Sparta reach them, Athena gives him a new set of weapons, the Blades of Exile. Kratos makes his way through the underworld to reach Hades' palace, meeting various lost souls along the way. He faces the Lord of the Underworld and manages to defeat him, ripping out Hades' soul using the God of the Dead's own weapon, the Claws of Hades. Kratos escapes from the underworld and resumes his journey to Mount Olympus, but this time with no allies and two major enemies, the Titans and the gods. On his way to the top of the mountain, he stumbles upon Gaia, who is still climbing to go back to battle. The Titaness asks for his help, but after her betrayal, Kratos refuses and cuts off her hand, making Gaia fall down the mountain. He then meets a wounded Helios, the god of the sun, but instead of saving him, Kratos rips off his head, plunging the world into eternal darkness. After a few more fights, Kratos reaches the Chamber of the Flame and finds Pandora's box, which still holds the power to kill a god. However, after the Ghost of Sparta used its power to kill Ares, Zeus got scared and protected the box by placing it inside the deadly flames of Olympus. Athena tells Kratos that the key to opening the box and unleashing its power is to find the one it was named after, Pandora. The Ghost of Sparta slashes a few more gods while looking for Pandora, killing Hermes, Hercules, Hera, the Titan Kronos, and Hephaestus, but not before the craftsman of Olympus forged him a new weapon, the Nemesis Whip. Hephaestus reveals that he was trying to protect his daughter Pandora, who was imprisoned in a labyrinth after Kratos opened her box. Kratos heads to the labyrinth and finds Pandora. The two of them escape the labyrinth and make their way back to the Chamber of the Flame. The only way to extinguish the flame of Olympus is for Pandora to sacrifice herself, but Kratos grew fond of the young woman and doesn't want her to die. As Pandora escapes Kratos' grip to run into the flame, Zeus intervenes and grabs the girl. The god of war and the king of Olympus fight once more, with Kratos taking the upper hand against his father. While the two gods are fighting, Pandora reaches the flame and unlocks the box. As Kratos opens it, he discovers that the box is empty and that Pandora sacrificed herself for nothing. Zeus mocks his son for another failure and teleports outside to recover from the fight. Kratos chases after Zeus and resumes the fight against his father. The two are interrupted by Gaia, who finally finished climbing the mountain and didn't die when Kratos cut off her hand, which grew back. Gaia destroys the platform where Kratos and Zeus are fighting, forcing the father and son to jump inside the Titaness's body. Kratos and Zeus continue their fight, and the Ghost of Sparta finally manages to defeat his father, impaling him against Gaia's heart, killing the king of Olympus and the mother of the Titans at the same time. Kratos awakens amongst the chaos caused by the death of all the gods and titans. He finds Zeus impaled on a rock and takes his weapon out of his dead father's body. But Zeus hasn't yet said his last word, and his spirit attacks Kratos. As Zeus's spirit crashes Kratos with his giant fist, the Spartan begins a mental journey where he reunites with Pandora, who tells him that hope is the only thing that can help win battles. Kratos forgives himself for his past sins that were tormenting his soul. This newfound hope makes Kratos regain consciousness and retrieve his godly powers. He forces Zeus's spirit back into his body before beating his father to death with his bare hands. Kratos finally got his revenge and killed the gods of Mount Olympus. However, it has an impact on Greece, as those supposed to watch over the world are dead. There is no sun. Tornadoes are destroying everything, the ocean engulfs most of the land, and there doesn't seem to be anyone else besides birds and Kratos to witness the chaos. Athena appears, congratulating Kratos on his victory. She says that now that the world is rid of the gods' control and the land is cleansed by chaos, humanity is ready to hear her message. She asks Kratos to give her the power from Pandora's box, but the Spartan reveals that the box was empty when he opened it. Athena tells him that he's wrong, as she witnessed Kratos killing Zeus thanks to the power held within the box. It turns out that the power to kill a god that was held in Pandora's box wasn't a weapon, but hope, giving the strength to overcome all obstacles. This power was unleashed when Kratos first opened Pandora's box to defeat Ares, but hope was buried deep underneath Kratos' guilt and need for revenge. Now that he forgave himself and defeated Zeus, Kratos unleashed the true power of hope. Athena asks Kratos to give her this power so she can rebuild a better world. Kratos refuses and impales himself on the blade of Olympus, releasing the power of hope to the entire world instead of Athena. Disappointed, Athena leaves Kratos to bleed to death. But a trail of blood leading away from the Blade of Olympus suggests that the Ghost of Sparta isn't yet dead. God of War 3 marks the end of the Olympian gods, and seemingly the end of Kratos as he finally got his revenge. But in 2018, he's back. Many years after his fight with Zeus, Kratos is now living in the realm of Midgard, in ancient Norway, with his young son Atreus. Kratos' second wife and Atreus' mother, Faye, just died, and her last request was for her ashes to be spread at the highest peak of the 9 realms. After the funeral ceremony, Kratos and Atreus go to the woods to hunt a deer, but this moment isn't a sweet father-son bonding time. Kratos is distant and tough with his son, never showing him any form of affection. He tells Atreus that he's not yet ready to join him on his journey to the highest peak of the 9 realms, to Atreus' despair as the boy successfully managed to track down a deer and kill it. Once they got home, a mysterious stranger appears at their door. He seems to recognize Kratos and taunts the former Greek god of war, wanting to fight against him. He slaps Kratos, who doesn't fight back but asks him to get away from his home. The stranger refuses and attacks Kratos once more, forcing him to fight. The two engage in battle, and the stranger seems to have godlike powers to match Kratos's while not feeling any pain. After an intense fight, the former Spartan defeats his opponent, snaps his neck, and pushes the dead body off a cliff. Kratos goes back to his son, and despite his initial reluctance to take the boy on his journey across the 9 realms, the two of them leave their home to begin their adventure. On their way to the highest peak of the 9 realms, Kratos and Atreus meet various characters that will become their allies, such as the dwarven Huldra brothers, Brock and Sindri, the mysterious Witch of the Woods, and the world serpent, Jormungand. Kratos and his son grow closer throughout their journey, even if the Spartan isn't great at showing his affection. Kratos and Atreus climb Midgard's peak, but as they're about to reach the top, they hear 3 men talking. Among the voices, there's one of an expected foe, the mysterious stranger Kratos fought in front of their house. Despite having his neck snapped and being thrown down a cliff, the stranger is alive and well, chatting with Magni and Modi, sons of Thor. They're interrogating a captured man about the whereabouts of Kratos and Atreus. The stranger is Balder, son of Odin, and promises that he will ask his dad, the ruler of the Norse pantheon, to have mercy on his prisoner shall he give him the information he needs. The captured man sends him off, and Balder and his companions leave. Kratos and Atreus join the prisoner who is trapped within a tree. Kratos asks his son to track down Balder and his friends to make sure that they're alone. He walks up to the prisoner, who seems to know who Kratos really is, and that Atreus has no clue about the past of his father and his true nature as a god. The prisoner introduces himself as Mimir, ambassador of the gods, giants, and all creatures of the 9 realms. He knows everything about these lands and their traditions, but was made prisoner by Odin 109 years ago. Atreus comes back after making sure Balder left, reuniting with his father and explaining to Mimir that they're looking for the highest peak in the 9 realms. Mimir reveals that they are not yet at their destination, since the highest mountain of the realms is not in Midgard, but in Jotunheim. Unfortunately for the father-son duo, access to this realm has been blocked off by Odin and Thor. Mimir asks Kratos to cut off his head and have it revived by the mysterious witch they previously met so that he could accompany them on their journey and show them another way to Jotunheim. They go to the witch, who happens to be the goddess Freya. She revives Mimir's head and warns Kratos to reveal his true nature to Atreus, who still has no clue about his father's full story. Kratos doesn't really like being told what to do and leaves with his son and Mimir's head. Learning that Freya is a goddess didn't help either, as Kratos doesn't trust any gods after his adventure in Greece. Mimir knows how to open a portal to Jotunheim, but needs some components to activate it. During this quest, the trio is attacked by Modi and Magni, the sons of Thor that were chatting with Balder at the top of Midgard's highest mountain. Kratos kills Magni, but Modi manages to escape. Modi later ambushes them, but as Kratos fights against him, Atreus suddenly collapses. Kratos fends off Modi, who manages to flee once more. Mimir tells Kratos that the only way to save Atreus is to get him back to Freya, so despite his lack of trust towards all kinds of gods, Kratos returns to the goddess. Freya reveals that the reason Atreus fell unconscious is that his true nature is fighting within him, as he has no clue of his true powers. To revive the boy, Freya needs the heart of a particular troll in Helheim, so Kratos heads there. On the way, he's haunted by his Greek past, seeing visions of Athena and Zeus. He still manages to get the heart he needed and bring it back to Freya so that she can save his son. Atreus is cured, and the duo resumes their journey across the 9 realms. Atreus believes that he overheard Kratos talking to Freya, saying that his son was cursed. He believes his father never wanted him and finds him weak. Kratos reveals the truth to Atreus. He is a god from a foreign country, who decided to live as a mortal when he moved to Midgard. Therefore, Atreus is a god, but according to Kratos, this is not a gift, but instead a curse. Learning that he's a god makes Atreus become more and more arrogant. He no longer cares about their quest, but thinks about everything he could do thanks to his godly powers. They stumble across a wounded Modi who is beaten by Thor for not avenging his brother. Against Kratos' orders, Atreus kills Modi, stating that they are gods and can therefore do whatever they want. Kratos tells him that he should never kill because he simply wants to, as there are consequences to killing a god. And Kratos surely knows about this after everything that went down in Greece. As they finally open the portal to Jotunheim, Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir's head are ambushed by Balder. An overconfident Atreus tries to fight against the god, but he's no match for the son of Odin. Kratos fights against Balder, and the portal to Jotunheim is destroyed during the battle. Atreus comes back to the fight despite his father ordering him not to. The boy doesn't care and shoots a lightning arrow at his dad to prevent Kratos from stopping him, as he really wants to fight against Balder. The boy attacks Balder, who easily stops him. He grabs Atreus and jumps down the mountain, with Kratos quickly following him. They end up in Helheim, the realm of the dead. Atreus apologizes for his behavior, and the duo manages to escape. On the way, they learn that Balder is Freya's son, but that he resents his mother for the spell she cast on him, supposedly to protect him from harm. They return to Midgard, and Mimir realizes there is another way to reach Jotunheim. But of course, going there won't be easy, and they need to find Mimir's missing eye. They set off on their quest and are attacked by Balder once again. Freya intervenes during the fight to protect her son, but Kratos and Atreus manage to win the battle. Despite all the trouble he caused, Kratos doesn't kill Balder. He simply asks that he no longer bother him and Atreus, and that he leaves his mother alone. Freya states that if Balder wants to kill her to be happy, then that's all that matters to her, so she lets her son strangle her. Kratos, who already saw his fair share of sons killing their parents, grabs Balder and snaps his neck before he can kill his mother. Freya gets mad at Kratos, swearing to get her revenge for the death of her son. Kratos reveals his entire story to Atreus, from his childhood in Sparta to his pact with Ares, and how it resulted in him killing countless victims, including his own father. He tells Atreus that sons killing their fathers isn't the only way to become a god, and that they can choose their own path to be better than the ones that came before them. After all these adventures, Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir finally reach Jotunheim. They find a temple with a large mural depicting all of their adventures. The giants had foreseen everything that would happen, from their encounter with the world serpent to their fight against Baldur. This mural reveals that Faye, Atreus' mother, was a giant who decided to stay behind in Midgard. This makes Atreus not only a god, but also a giant and a mortal, as Kratos used to be a demigod before becoming the god of war. The mural also shows the birth name Faye chose for Atreus, Loki. As Kratos and Atreus finally reached the highest peak of the 9 realms, they spread Faye's ashes. Upon returning to Midgard, Mimir warns them that something wrong is going on. The 3-year-long Fimbulwinter began earlier than expected, which means that the end of the world, Ragnarok, will be coming soon. And you guessed it, that leads us to the latest God of War game to date, Ragnarok. 3 years have passed and Fimbulwinter is about to end. As Kratos and Atreus are on their way home from a hunt, they're attacked by Freya, who still didn't forgive them for killing her son Baldur. After escaping Freya's wrath, they come home to find their pet wolf Fenrir about to die. Atreus asks his father for some time alone to grieve and bury the wolf. Kratos accepts and heads home, quickly falling asleep. He's awakened by Mimir, who's getting worried as Atreus still isn't home after Fenrir's funeral ceremony. They head into the woods to find the boy and face a large bear. It turns out that this bear is actually Atreus, who still struggles with his giant and god powers and turned into a bear due to grief. The boy wants to know more about how to control his powers and his role as Loki. Kratos, scared that his son doesn't fully control his powers, doesn't want him to pursue his quest of finding his future as Loki. Kratos and Atreus go home and fall asleep. Once again, Kratos' sleep is interrupted. Thor, the god of thunder, wants to talk to him, and since he obviously doesn't know how to knock, he awakens Kratos and Atreus by unleashing a storm over their head. Odin, the king of Aesir, follows soon after. Odin goes over the events that happened before Fimbulwinter. He forgives Kratos for killing Modi and Magni, sons of Thor, but found Baldur to be useful and his death regrettable. Odin asks Kratos for peace, that he stays home with his boy and stops slaughtering Norse gods. He also wants Atreus to stop looking for Tyr, to Kratos' surprise, as he had no idea about his son's hidden agenda. In exchange, Odin will ask Freya to stop coming after Kratos and Atreus, keeping them both safe. They even get to keep Mimir's head as a bonus. Peace could be good, right? But in good old Kratos fashion, he refuses Odin's offer. He still doesn't trust the gods, and Mimir warned that he shouldn't believe any word Odin says. Since he refused Odin's peace offering, Thor can now get his revenge for the death of his sons. The Thunder God and the Ghost of Sparta fight. Thor takes the upper hand and kills Kratos, but the Thunder God revives him so he doesn't die until he reveals his true face as the God of War. After Kratos unleashes part of his powers to defeat Thor, the Thunder God escapes, glad that Kratos finally showed his true nature. Meanwhile, Odin asked Atreus to come with him to Asgard, but the boy refused. Kratos is mad at his son for hiding his intention of finding Tyr, the supposedly dead Norse god of war, in his quest for discovering his destiny as Loki. But having Atreus unlock his full powers could guarantee his safety, so Kratos agrees to help him find a way to use his abilities. Atreus found a secret place with a large mural and brings Kratos and Mimir to discover it. They find a drawing showing Tyr, seemingly alive, but prisoner in Svartalfheim, the realm of the dwarves. The trio finds Tyr, who made a vow against violence after years of torture. Tyr agrees to join them and gives them the information they need, but he won't fight. Kratos, Atreus, Mimir, and Tyr head to Groa's Jotun's shrine in Alfheim. They discover that the Ragnarok prophecy doesn't foresee the end of the world, but the end of only one of the realms. A champion would unite all realms against Asgard, and only the Aesir realm, the one ruled by Odin, would be destroyed through warfare. Tyr believes Atreus, or rather Loki, is the prophecy's champion that would unite everyone against Asgard. Kratos isn't a fan of this idea and would rather not have his son become a war hero. Atreus goes to his room and falls asleep, but once again the night doesn't go quietly. Atreus is transported to Jotunheim, where he meets Angerboda, a giantess who is about the same age as him. She shows Atreus his fate as Loki and reveals that Kratos, or Farbauti under his Norse name, will die during Ragnarok. She asks Atreus not to reveal his trip to this realm or reveal what he learned. Atreus reunites with his father and their companions, but this reunion is cut short by the attack of a Valkyrie who happens to be Freya in battle armor. She agrees to spare their lives if they help free her from Odin's curse. Freyr, the god of peace and Freya's brother, teams up with them. Kratos helps Freya get rid of Odin's curse that prevented her from traveling the realms. He opens up about his past in Greece and tells Freya about the fate of his family and his revenge against Olympus, stating that revenge was ultimately useless. While she remains angry about the death of Baldur, she believes defeating Odin is more important and becomes Kratos' ally. Atreus escapes to Midgard to spy on Odin and find a way to prevent his father's death during Ragnarok. Odin shows him around Asgard and asks for his help translating text from a mysterious mask supposed to hold infinite knowledge. Meanwhile, Kratos, Mimir, and Freya try to learn more about Ragnarok and what will happen to Loki. They discover that Kratos will eventually die, but there is no predetermined fate for everyone since the prophecy depends on their individual actions. Last but not least, they discover that Heimdall, the watchman of the Aesir and god of foresight, plans to kill Atreus to protect Odin and prevent Ragnarok. Kratos doesn't have a choice. He has to defeat Heimdall to protect his son. Brock forges the ring Draupnir into a powerful spear that could overwhelm Heimdall's prediction ability and defeat him. In Asgard, Odin confesses to Atreus that he wants the mysterious mask to find out where he will go after his death. He sends Atreus and Thrud, Thor's daughter, to Helheim for another mission. They release a giant wolf, Garm, a hellhound that begins to tear holes between the realms. Atreus asks Odin to send him back to Midgard. Odin reluctantly agrees, and Atreus reunites with his father. The two fight against Garm, and Atreus discovers that the soul of his wolf, Fenrir, is contained in his knife after his funerary chant when he buried his pet. He transfers Fenrir's soul into Garm's body, taking control of this hellhound. Kratos and Atreus open up to each other, with Kratos telling his son about the Draupnir spear and Atreus revealing the truth about his trip to Jotunheim. Kratos catches up with Heimdall and defeats him. However, instead of killing him, he offers to spare his life should he swear to leave Atreus alone. Heimdall refuses and taunts Kratos, explaining exactly how he will kill his son. Furious, Kratos fights against him and kills him, taking Heimdall's horn, Gjallarhorn, from his dead body. Atreus warns everyone about Odin's plans with the mask and states that he wants to go back to Asgard to gather more information. There, he discovers that the last piece of the mask is in Niflheim, so he heads there with Thrud and a drunk Thor. Atreus completes the mask and escapes Thor's surveillance to reunite with his father and their companions. Tyr offers to take everyone to Asgard to fight Odin using the mask to find out how to prevent Ragnarok. He grabs the mask, and despite his vow of peace, he's willing to take arms to bring Loki to Asgard. But Brock grows suspicious. Why did Tyr never reveal that he had a way to reach Asgard? And why does he call Atreus Loki like the Asgardians? Tyr fatally stabs Brock and reveals he is Odin, spying on them the whole time. He escapes and declares war on Kratos and his allies. The time has come to launch the attack against Asgard, and Ragnarok begins. Kratos leads the 8 realms against Aesir, blowing Gjallarhorn to grant them all access to Asgard. Kratos, Atreus, and their friends fight against the Asgardians. Kratos fights against Thor, wins his battle against the Thunder God, and spares him, as their respective children are friends. Kratos convinces Thor to stop fighting to show a better example to their kids. Odin appears and blames Thor for wasting his time talking to Kratos. He tells the Thunder God to obey his orders and kill Kratos, but Thor refuses. Odin then impales Thor in front of his daughter Thrud, who just arrived with Atreus. Kratos, Atreus, and later Freya fight against Odin. They overpower the ruler of Aesir, and Atreus destroys the mask, trapping Odin's soul in a spiritual stone. Sindri, the brother of Brock, destroys the stone to kill Odin and avenge his brother. Ragnarok emerges and begins to destroy Asgard. Freyr, the brother of Freya, sacrifices himself to protect everyone while they escape to another realm. Ragnarok's prophecy is complete and Asgard is destroyed. Kratos, Atreus, and all of their friends, except for Freyr, wake up safe and sound. Angerboda leads them to another secret Jotun shrine and reveals that Faye destroyed the previous murals so Kratos and Atreus could control their own fate. Atreus tells Kratos that he wants to find the remaining giants but needs to complete his journey on his own for now. Kratos tells him that he is finally ready to accomplish his destiny, and the two share an emotional farewell. Kratos discovers another shrine behind Faye's, his own. He finds a mural showing him, with his red tattoos and axe, as a peaceful and beloved god. With the help of Freya and Mimir, he sets on a quest to restore the realms and bring peace once more after the events of Ragnarok. And this is how the story of Kratos ends, at least for now. Since he now has to rebuild the realms with Freya and Mimir, this is probably not the last we'll see of him. What will happen to him and Atreus, who sets off to find the giants? Only time will tell, so make sure to subscribe to the leaderboard so you don't miss any information regarding God of War. Which version of Kratos is your favorite? Let us know in the comments. And if you learned anything from this video, please hit that thumbs up button to spread the word about Kratos' adventures across Greek and Norse mythology. Thanks for watching.